All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session 2113, Cisco XDR, Understanding All the Parts and Pieces. My name is Oxana Sannikova. I am the leader for Technical Marketing Engineering team for XDR and Secure Network Analytics, which is our on-prem network detection and response platform. So in the session today, if you remember the abstract, we will try to answer some of the questions about Cisco XDR, but most importantly, how it is an efficiency tool and how it can make your SOC more efficient and your security operations more efficient. Along the way, we'll look at what it is and what it is not. Is it SIEM? Is it SOAR? What about Splunk? And all those other questions that were listed in the abstract as well. So we'll try to answer them along the way. So just a few housekeeping notes. Before we start, there is a WebEx space. There are going to be a couple of people from my team in this WebEx space, plus a couple of product managers. Thank you very much. To answer any questions that you might have during the session or after the session. The room is usually open till June 13, but I never close my room, so you can always come back and ask questions. I'll share additional information, anything based on the questions that come up during the session or anything that we cover in terms of demos. I'll share all the details and all the resources in the WebEx space, so please join it. You can also download the PowerPoint from the application. I advise you to do it because I have to warn you, there's going to be heavy slides alert and some heavy text slides alerts and some demos. And there's going to be some hidden slides that I'm not covering just because I wanted to provide you some supplemental information that you can come back because the session is 90 minutes and there are a lot of parts and pieces. So we're going to be covering mostly like big rocks. Right, and yeah, that's what I wanted to cover as a little housekeeping note here. And following Cisco Life tradition, a little bit about me. I've been with Cisco for 17 years. In my current role, what the technical marketing engineering means is we are the early adopters of our products. We test them, we test the product behavior, we test the integrations, we come up with simulations, emulations, and then we produce technical material for our sellers to be able to go and talk to you guys. What are the outcomes, how the product behaves, what's happening. So literally almost every demo that you will see in the Innovation Zone for Cisco XDR has been produced by my team. And I will be showing in this deck actually the work of the whole team of all the 7 people from XDR and Network Analytics team that report to me at the moment. I've been in the role for over a year. My previous role was in automation team. So automation is near and dear to my heart. So if I get carried away in the automation section, please let me know because we've been building some cool stuff, leveraging APIs of all of Cisco security products and different technology stacks to create proof of concept automations for our customers in that pre-sales team. And also, as you can see from the pictures, I'm a cat person, I'm a beach person, and I have a hobby that helps me to get away from any computers or any laptops. I'm doing on-location sketching, and I'm also volunteering in the local urban sketching organization in Toronto. So this is where we are at the moment, at the beginning of this learning map, and during the session, on something that I'm not going to be covering. I will be pointing you to the session where you can get more information. So I will serve sort of like a universal forwarder because I'm at the beginning of this learning map. And also because I try to make sure that there is little overlap between what I'm covering and other presenters are covering. So you get the most out of your presence here at the event and you don't have a redundant information. You don't receive redundant information. So that's what we will try to do. So there are going to be a lot of references to other sessions as well. And shifting gears a little bit, what are we going to be talking today? We'll start with a little conversation about what XDR is, how it is an efficiency tool for the SOC. And then we'll look at what outcomes essentially it's supposed to deliver and how these outcomes are being reflected in the architecture and features of Cisco XDR, what features we're bringing into you to help you deliver this, receive these outcomes and become more efficient. And then we'll come back to some conclusions. We'll talk about Splunk and we'll talk about AI along the way. There are going to be live demos. Ooh. Try to stand by the product. So hopefully, guys, you don't exhaust the whole Wi-Fi and we can do some live demos. And there's going to be some click-through demos as well and some guided demos too that I will share at the end. Okay, so shifting gears again, the XDR as an efficiency tool. I think XDR as a market term has been around already for several years, since 2021 when Forrester released that report, right? And everyone already has a pretty good understanding on what that should be. But still, there's still sometimes some confusion around the use cases, so we'll talk about that a little bit. So first of all, XDR, who has XDR already? Who has Cisco XDR? Who's leveraging Cisco XDR? Okay, that's awesome. Almost everyone. Who has SIEM, Splunk? Okay, a little bit less hands. All right. So, I mean, I don't need to explain you in detail, but just to bring everyone on the same page very, very quickly. What the X and DNDR stands for, right? We want to bring telemetry, different types of sources of telemetry from different detection, and not only detection, but a lot of different technologies, sources in our environment into one single place, bring them as close together, whether it's raw telemetry or security detections. And then on top of that, we want to apply intelligence. We want to apply threat intelligence. We want to apply analytics, native built-in detections, and correlation logic to come up to a definition of maliciousness, of detection of maliciousness, right? And the main outcome of this Cisco XDR or any XDR solution should be that high-fidelity alert that is prioritized, that has all those sources correlated together, brought together into one single chain of events. And then on top of that, you want to be able to do response actions in a guided and automated manner, ideally with a one click of a button. Right, so this is kind of like a promise that the XDR platform should bring. So all of your email solutions, firewall solutions, EDR solutions, your SIEMs, your mobile device management solutions, and other things, right? They should feed data into an XDR for that to be able the most efficient. And we'll talk about the data sources in this session as well. But there are overlapping use cases for threat investigation, incident investigation, forensics, response, right? There are overlapping use cases, right? So what about SIEMs, right? If we have a SIEM, is it enough? Is it not enough? I think the main point here is to understand what these tools do best. And then there is also not a complete feature overlap between all of those tools as well, right? There are certain things that only this tool can do and not others can do at all. And then at the same time, there are things that this tool would be best at compared to the others. So with the SIEM, it's a long-term storage. They have on-prem and cloud versions usually, right? You may need it for compliance reasons. You may use it for other use cases, not only security use cases. Right? They usually have those universal ingestion capabilities that can ingest any sort of telemetry in the world, which is not the case with XDRs in many cases. So, and it's really good as helping you build those custom queries to answer those complex questions, as the one here, right? Show me the failed login attempts for 24 hours period in the last 45 days for my UK subsidiary, right? So you can build all of those different queries to be able to fetch this kind of data. What XDR solution is at providing those high-fidelity alerts, doing fast search and detection, correlating these things together, and providing you an information of something bad happened. As an example here, right, PowerShell created an internal network connection that has never been seen before. It might be ransomware. And then it correlates it with other contacts, decorates it with context from the users, devices, et cetera, and provides it to you into one single place. Right? It's not really good at searching and doing a really large queries compared to SIEM. And then the data retention policy is also much shorter in these tools usually. And then from SOAR perspective, the current industry trend is that SOAR capabilities should be built into your XDR or a SIEM, ideally into XDR. Which will, so that you don't have to go into all of those point products and all of those control points to apply response actions. You can trigger them in an automated and guided manner from one single place from your XDR solution. So that's currently the trend we see in the market happening a lot. So just to illustrate the point of why an XDR is an efficiency tool and why it is so important to bring everything together. An example, and we will look at this simulation in the demo where we are using a classic spear phishing attack. We are using actually the Blind Eagle simulation as a baseline for that. The name is probably not going to tell you anything because it was mainly targeted at Colombian organizations, but it was also presented at the RSA 2023. And it's really like a classic spear phishing attack where they were really targeted emails, tricking the user into clicking the URL and the attachment, which led to the VBS file download, the Visual Basic script download, which led to then the download of the encrypted DLL. When that was executed, that would process hollow the rich services exe Windows process that is used by a .1net framework. And then after that, we would see a remote access Trojan being installed and leveraged on the device to build a command and control connection, right? And then based on that, the attacker would have access to whatever capabilities that threat has, looking at the browser history, finding credentials saved in the cache, key logging, attempt data exfiltration, file manager, and then they would be able to move laterally in the network. So you download something bad, you execute something bad, you infect your machine, and then something else happens. So we'll look at this example of the attack. The point here is that all of this modern ATP are very complex, right? They're not targeting one system, they're not targeting one specific endpoint, right, or one specific solution. They go across the whole spectrum and multiple different attack vectors. And so how would you investigate it in your current environment? I want you to picture that in your mind right now, right? So usually, think about all of those alerts that you're getting in your systems right now, right? From every single detection product. How many do you have? Do you have hundreds a day? Or do you have thousands a day? Right, more like, I see people nodding, more like thousands a day. So which one are you looking at? Which one are you looking at usually? The highly critical ones, right? So you're looking at the highly critical ones, right? And what are you doing with the rest? Look at them later, or more like never, right? So ignoring, right? You're ignoring them, right? And what happens is you're losing visibility into the low fidelity alerts that usually at the early stage of the attacks, you start with something more like a high criticality, like privilege escalation or data filtration or lateral movement, which is later in the attack chain, which means that you're already impacted, right? And then you have to build your attack continuum in both directions, going backwards to see what the hell actually happened and where this all started, and going forward to see what was the end impact of my attack. What is the scope? How bad it is? What has been my collateral damage, basically, right? So this is why you need an XDR, basically, right? That tool would do everything of that for you automatically. This is another view from attack continuum for that Blind Eagle attack that I mentioned, for that spear phishing attack, right? I just break down, and this is a simplified view on all the tactics and respective techniques that are being leveraged by this specific emulation. And then this is the sources of the detections. So the light blue and the dark blue, I use similar colors intentionally because they represent network detections and EDR detections. But then you see, to be able to get full picture, to find the root cause, but also find the impact, you need other tools like your firewalls and intrusion prevention systems. You need your email detections. You need all of it. And cloud detections and DNS and identity is not even on this picture. I mean, this is already a very busy slide, and it's meant to be an eye chart. So I don't expect you to read it through all of it. The point here is the most common question we get from customers when they start on this journey is, what sources do I need to bring into my XDR for that to be efficient? And the answer is all of it, basically, right? But if you look from priority, and this came out when we were looking at designing an XDR, and we had these interviews with the customers, all of them mentioned EDR as their main detection source, but also the network visibility was highly important. As you can see, it shortly follows after. And then it followed by the firewall. Identity has been becoming more and more important in the recent years, right? But there are also some other sources like public cloud and non-security sources, such as device and user context information that are listed here. And we'll talk about some integrations that we have in an XDR in the next section shortly, but I just want to tell you that from that perspective, when you're looking what you want to integrate, these are the sources that you want to integrate. And the bottom line for this section is to say that, in order to bring those outcomes, right, come up to detections faster, investigate faster, get all the context in one single place to be able to realize and understand the impact, to be able to respond to the session, right? Like, you need a tool. You need a new technology, and this is what an XDR is. It's a new technology that's available for you to leverage, right? So you should leverage all the new technologies that are there. We didn't talk about the general cybersecurity challenges here, such as like 4 million people shortage in cybersecurity area and all of it, right? This is why we need to use the tooling that's out there to become more efficient. So now shifting to the new section, the XDR building blocks. Do you have any questions before we move forward? No questions yet? All right. So with Cisco XDR building blocks, we're going to talk a little bit about the architecture, and we're going to look at what are the building blocks of the solution that we brought in. So basically, when we were looking at, we brought all the experts. We invested a lot of money into research and customer interviews and bringing some people with SOC experience, hiring new talent, analyzing all the technology stack that we already had at Cisco and all of it. So what we were looking at, so what should be the blocks of the ideal ADR solution, right? And you need a data lake. That's the first thing you need. And then you need your inputs. So, you need to be able to ingest that network telemetry, right? Whether it's raw telemetry, whether you want to inject security detection, so there should be an integration framework for that. And then you should be able to leverage threat intelligence, because it's not only important to understand this is the IP address, this is the domain address. You need to know, is this malicious? Is it suspicious? Why it is malicious? What are the additional behavior indicators that make it malicious or suspicious or whatnot, and things like that. And then you need the asset context, right? You need to understand how critical the device is. Are they even prone? Do they have relevant vulnerabilities related to this attack? And same for users. Is there any vulnerable, suspicious behavior? Do I have my MFA turned on for all of them, and things like that. So you need to bring identity in here as well. And then all of that is going to surface in the portal, right, through leveraging, applying analytics and correlation, and bringing those incidents into the incident view, and then providing built-in SOAR capabilities. As I mentioned, this is an industry trend. This is expected for customers, so we have that. And then case management to collaborate on the incidents. Right, and so the outcomes is you should be able to manage your incident, provide incident response, and do ad hoc threat hunting if needed for all of that. And then ideally, this solution should be turnkey, plug and play, easy to manage, out of the box, no customization needed unless you really want to, but it should be flexible enough to provide you the opportunity for customization if you need to. And then if you want to outsource it and have it as a managed service, you should be able to do that as well. So that's kind of the pieces what we were looking for. And this is what we've built. We've built a brand new data warehouse to collect all the telemetry. Then we have brought an existing frameworks from SecureX and Secure Cloud Analytics / Orbital. Do you have any users of SecureX? Or Secure Cloud Analytics, not Orbital, Observable, I'm sorry. Observable Networks was the acquisition, right? So we merged those frameworks and we brought together the integrations points from those. And then we also brought opportunity for external enrichment meaning that we will be able to query those products when needed for additional information via the APIs. And that came from SecureX mainly, but without the need to storage all of that information as you would need in the SIEM. And then we brought the analytics engine with our native detections for cloud, network, and other source of telemetry, which is the Observable Network Acquisition, Cisco Secure Analytics platform, plus additional engines that has been and are still being developed, right? So what you will see essentially, and then the last piece, the last two pieces are here, is the incident manager, which is brand new, and then the automation, which is the action orchestrator, the workflow editor that we brought in and included in Cisco XDR. The point I want to make here is that, yes, originally we brought together some of the desperate technologies when we were trying to get to the market fast. But what's important is over the last couple of years, we're seeing all of those technologies starting to work much more closer together, leveraging more of what each of them has brought to the table, and that becoming like a more synergy between all of these components and really working to deliver the outcomes that we want this platform to deliver. Since I moved to the product side a year ago, I've been really fascinated with the amount of engineering work that has been put into this product. We're on 2 weeks releases, right? So we release new features every 2 weeks. It's a SaaS product. It's a very fast-paced product. So what I'm covering here I'll have some new integration and new feature spotlights in the session. And what I'm covering here is not going to be new in the months from now, right? Because we're going to have 2 more releases with new features after the session is being released. Very quickly, high-level architecture, because I promised I'll talk a little bit more about the integrations. Essentially, this is broken down by the acronyms, right? The X, the D, as they are. And if we start on the left with X, this is where we see we're ingesting all of those different telemetry. From cloud perspective, we integrate with AWS, GCP, and Azure. From a network perspective, we ingest NetFlow, different types of flow logs. For example, with Meraki, we have cloud-to-cloud integration, where we ingest the network telemetry from Meraki directly into our data lake. Right? We have email integrations such as Proofpoint, Microsoft Office 365, Cisco ETD, right? Email threat defense solution, of course. Identity, we'll talk about identity and CII integration in the moment, in a couple of moments. And then obviously firewalls, we are bringing a PAN integration very soon. And then endpoint integrations, which was our strategic decision, actually. And I want to highlight that when we were looking at developing the EDR, right, the XDR. EDR, as you saw, is one of the main data points for an XDR solution. So the strategic decision we made as a vendor is to decouple from our EDR solution and make it the first set of third-party integrations that we built for Cisco XDR was with third-party EDRs. So we integrate with CrowdStrike, with Microsoft Defender for endpoints, with Trend Micro, SentinelOne, and others in the market, because this is your main detection point, guys, and this is what we think we want to make sure we enable you to leverage an XDR solution on top of that, regardless of what is your EDR solution underneath. And then for network, I wanted to highlight one more thing is that as a regional network company, right, this is our core business that we are running from inception. And you know that this is the second most important source of information to be able to get full visibility into what's going on. Nothing can avoid traversing the network, right? We have built in our XDR an opportunity to get network visibility on the endpoint itself. This is a network visibility module with Cisco Secure Client that if you are an XDR user, Cisco XDR user, you're entitled to that, to be able to run native detections on top of that and bring visibility into endpoint network activity. Plus, we get NetFlow information from other sources such as firewalls, Meraki networks, et cetera, right? The list goes on. And then what's important here to say is we are bringing all of those different types of telemetry that I already mentioned, and that goes through the detection phase where we apply analytics on top of that, right? We have built-in NDR, as I mentioned. We define any anomalies. We build that attack chain through that MITRE framework that I showed you, right, in the attack continuum. And at the end, what we produce is the incident, where we apply our prioritization algorithm SOAR to show you what's really important, the criticality, and we'll talk about the algorithm later too. And then finally, we provide very, very flexible different options for response actions. We provide guided playbook for the incident where the analyst can follow the playbook and just click through the actions, right? Basically, in the guided manner, we provide automated actions so that even before the analyst opens the incident, there's already certain actions that has been taken based on incident attributes. There's very flexible rule sets for that. There are contextual quick actions all over the UI so that you can take quick actions as long as you run the investigation that you will see. And obviously, our AI assistant is also enabled to leverage this automated actions, and we'll see that in a quick demo. And then the final piece of architecture here is the APIs. As I mentioned, as much as we're trying to make Cisco XDR a turnkey solution, we also want to make sure that it's open, expandable, extended, and automated. And this is where our APIs help us to make sure we can do it. So literally, you can automate any action that you can do through the UI as the analyst. You can automate running investigations. You can automate incident creation. You can automate all of your response actions. You can automate bringing threat intelligence into your platform. But there's just enormous amount. You can build your custom integrations if you want. You can create custom dashboards if you want, leveraging the APIs. The framework is very, very powerful. I wish I could spend more time of it, but I can't. As I said, if I start carried away by automation, just let me know, because I can. Yes, please. That would be a good time to ask questions, by the way.
With this feature, how does that, with hybrid type of environments, does this support that type of environment, capture things in those type of work environments, and then also?
You mean on-prem and cloud, or what kind of hybrid?
Yeah, so in that environment, and we also have silos in our existing environment. How does this play a role in that?
Are you asking about the automation component or in general?
Probably both.
All right.
Well, I guess here's the issue that we have. A lot of tribal organizations, there's a lot of silos, different branches, and different departments, so we don't really get to see our environment too much. But when there's an attack or something that comes through our network, it's hard to trace or to.
Okay. Is it an overlapping IP space issue, or in general, the visibility issue you're tracking?
Probably in general.
Okay. So, it's more of an architectural discussion that we can definitely have, how to bring flow visibility and ingest network flows into the Cisco XDR. There are multiple ways to do it, essentially, but you can have a sensor that will collect all the telemetry in each location and send it over to Cisco XDR. This is a cloud solution, right? So from response perspective, we also support on-premise response actions, but you would need to install a small VM, which would allow you to reach out to your on-premise solutions, to their APIs to perform certain actions. And there is additional innovations that we are working on that will be announced in the DevNet section today in the DevNet zone on how we can bring in custom telemetry ingestion into XDR through the workflows, as well as from on-prem solutions. Very often we see customers with on-prem solutions being interested that they want to connect to the cloud, but through that integration, you would be able to push the data to Cisco XDR through the cloud without exposing APIs or access to those solutions specifically. So I would say we can maybe spend a little bit of time after the session to talk about the architecture that you're looking for and some challenges. And because, I mean, I should have warned everyone in this room, right? If we feel like the conversation is going to be a little bit longer, I will ask you guys to kind of continue after the session, because I want to make sure we get through all the material as well. So if that works for you, we can chat a little bit more after the session. Okay, moving forward with the features, and we'll have opportunities for more questions along the way too. So are there any questions right now? Are we good to go? Because we are about to get to the first demo in a little bit. All right. So with extended context, the only additional thing I want to add to what we have already talked about is depending on the types of integration, there's going to be different telemetry that we're ingesting, right? So, for example, with Cisco Secure Endpoint and Cisco Secure Client, as I mentioned previously, we will be sending endpoint detections, EDR detections from Cisco Secure Endpoint, but then from the Cisco Secure Client perspective and that network visibility module, we are sending raw network activity information, which is our raw telemetry. Right, and then from email perspective, we would be sending only alerts, right? We're not going to send all the raw telemetry and all the raw logs, and so on and so forth. Some of the integrations will only provide us threat intelligence, such as OpenFish or like VirusTotal integration, for example. Some of them, like a firewall, are a little bit of an outlier, and they provide us both raw telemetry, such as connection events telemetry, and alerts, such as intrusion detection alerts, things like that. So it's just important to understand if you pivot to an integration section in XDR, you should look at different types of intents that will allow you to understand which integration supports which type of telemetry and provide what kind of information. And what enrichment means here is that we can query at any point of time for additional information to run investigations manually, for example. So that's about ingestion, and then integrations is obviously the most important thing for an XDR solution because of all of those data sources that you want to bring in. And here is the QR code that you can scan to get to this documentation page, which is, by the way, the most highly accessed and popular page in our documentation that covers all the integrations and the integration points and all the features that we bring with each integration, including Cisco's and third parties. So we are working in both directions, expanding scope across Cisco security products and bringing them in, and enhancing integrations that we already have, such as Meraki integration, for example. We will be bringing security events shortly through that integration. But also expanding to third parties as well. We currently have around 100 integrations, I would say, and what they will allow you to do is to provide those detections and analytics, run threat hunting and investigation. Some of them will only provide asset and user insider information, and some of them will only provide response and automation actions. So the devil is in the details. So when you ask Cisco, do we integrate with such and such product, most likely you will receive a questions back saying, what specifically are you looking for from that integration? Because the answer might be yes, but, right, with some details on what specifically we support. So the new integration spotlight, as I mentioned, I'll have them in the session. We recently brought in integration with Cisco SecureX. We are bringing in DNS blocked events into our data lake to be able to correlate it with other telemetry sources and other detections into an incident. And you see other actions that you will be able to do. You will be able to use it in investigation. There are certain pre-built dashboards that are coming with it, and also asset information that is reported by Cisco SecureX, which is very important, an automation component to run certain actions. And there are also additional response actions that you can download from our library of the workflows that we'll talk about a little bit later. So just want to bring it out. There are a few screenshots and examples from our demo environment, and we'll also see some in the demo when we come to it shortly. I wanted to talk about threat intelligence because this is also important for our extended context visibility, right? There are a lot of different types of threat intelligence, but what we are using is we are using the dispositions, right, for the observables that we collect. We only collect threat intelligence for a certain subset of observables, which is IP addresses, domains, URLs, and we are only collecting reputations for those observables that are part of our internal network, not part of our internal network, that are external to our network, right? So external IPs, external URLs, external domains. This is where we bring that threat intelligence information. So where it is being used, when we create an incident, right, we pull threat intel and dispositions for all the observables that are related to the incident and expose it in UI. When you use contextual menu to learn more about specific observable, we are pulling that information point in time, and it is being represented to you in there. Also, the color-coded graphs that you will see in the incident and in the investigation, they show the disposition information that we received through threat intelligence. And then all of those different threat indicators that you will see, that are also coming from there. There are 3 different types. There is global, there is private, and then there is sort of other. The global one is some of the global sources that are built in, such as Talos threat intelligence, some different feeds that we're already providing out of the box. And then there is one that you can bring yourself through the integrations. This is other. And then private is the one that you can create yourself. What you can create with private intelligence, you can create judgments, you can create indicators, you can create your own feeds that will be consumed by the other solutions to, for example, create some block rules based on the feed information, and you can create events. And we'll look at it a little bit in the demo pretty soon. Another important feature for extended context is MITRE coverage map, which allows us to map the current, based on the products that you have integrated, what is your coverage from MITRE attack tactics and techniques perspective, right? Which is supposed to help you build your hypothesis better, understand the gaps, your attack vector coverage, where you're covered, where you're not covered. What it will also allow you to do is to understand what could be the next steps of the attackers, where we need to test our defenses. So basically, you come up with hypotheses, you evaluate your defenses, then you test them by running different purple team exercises, right? Then you define your gaps, and then you close those gaps, and then the loop continues. So this is what it's supposed to help you do. And then the new feature there is the secure endpoint configuration insights, which allows us to provide visibility of coverage based on your current existing configuration with Cisco Secure Endpoint. Do we have any Cisco Secure Endpoint users here? Yeah? Awesome. So that's the feature. And then if you combine it with the new feature in Cisco Secure Endpoint, which allows you to provide recommendations for your policy configurations, then that will help you get the best policy configuration in your environment. A few last features that are very important to mention as well is the investigate capability, which will allow you to get any observable from any external sources, whether you're looking at blog posts or emails you receive from certain organizations that share threat information with you, or like you're reading Twitter or like whatnot. Right, you can investigate all of those observables in your environment to see if that even has been seen. Is it malicious, suspicious, which product has detected it? And all of that is going to be bringing to you with events, with the attack graph, and then there is a timeline that you can move back and forth to run point-in-time investigation. And as I mentioned, it works through the APIs. So we query all of the integrations in point-in-time through the APIs to gather that data. And then the new feature alert for investigation is detection findings page, which allows you to search through the, those events that we're ingesting into our data lake from different solutions, here we see examples of some AWS snapshot exfiltration events that are being they are now our native detections that has been run on the cloud telemetry data that we are getting through the cloud flow logs from AWS, right? And those events are being ingested into our data lake, so you have visibility into all of those events. And you also have access to the raw OCSF data of that detection, which will allow you to attribute it to certain tactics and techniques and dig deeper into what's actually contained in that specific detection. Yeah, and then in the ID, you can also see that it was blocked, so it also provides you information about the actions that has been taken. So we'll take a look in a moment in the demo for that. The last two pieces is devices. We are bringing device context into Cisco XDR, and we leverage device information in incident prioritization and analysis. We take in mind how critical these devices are, how important they are in your environment, what are the vulnerabilities on those devices, and we bring and consolidate that context from all of those sources. So you don't need to search by IP and say, is it the same device I'm seeing in Secure Access? Is it the same device I'm seeing in my Cisco Secure Endpoint? And marry all of that data together yourself. All of that is being done for you by Cisco XDR, right? And we'll look at the demos, but you can see here from Secure Endpoint perspective, it tells you this endpoint is already compromised, right? You can see your Windows Center information, whether the antivirus is running or not running, what is the last login user. The Duo information will provide you information, what is the last application user, what are the devices that are being used, et cetera. And then the integration spotlight is our recent integration with Cisco Vulnerability Management, which allows us to bring vulnerability information related to device and OS information for this specific device, right? So we look forward to leveraging information in incident prioritization very soon. But at the moment, what it will provide you is additional vulnerability context on the device in Cisco XDR. And next, users. This is where our most recent integration happened. In May 28, we have completely replaced this user insights context feature with integration with CII. So now all this context information is coming through the CII. So for all Cisco XDR customers, you will have access for identity intelligence for XDR capability. And then if you are also a Duo customer, depending on your licensing tiers, you will either have direct access to CII portal or not. I'm not going to go too much into the weeds. There is a separate session that I will refer to that will follow you through all those different details. What's important is that in the past, the information you would receive was very contextual. Who is the user, the phone information, the directory, blah, 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 right? What you can see now is also identity events. This user is sharing authenticators, right? Or there's directly assigned applications, or whether the MFA is enabled or not enabled. So additional vulnerability and threat information is being shared. And from integrations perspective, if in the past we only integrated with Duo and Entra ID, so now CII provides us, I believe, 12 integrations that they support, including Okta, Slack, and like many others. Yeah, this is the identity intelligence integration. There is some additional details that are listed on the slide regarding the integration, right? That I mentioned. What you would need to do is you would need to onboard your organization through Cisco Security Cloud Control, and this is where it's going to be managed. And after you have done so, this page is going to be completely replaced with information coming from CII. To learn more, significantly more about it, as I mentioned, I will be serving as a universal forwarder here. I strongly advise you to attend Aaron Woolen's session. Have you Anyone ever attended Aaron's session? He is an awesome presenter. He's a very entertaining presenter, and even if you don't care about identity, I strongly recommend you to attend his session just because he's absolutely amazing to watch. And then there's going to be a more practical session with some demos of leveraging CAI APIs and certain use cases with XDR automation delivered by Ahmed Riza Edelat from my team on Thursday, which is a DevNet 45-minute session. So if you want a little bit more practical view, you can attend that. If you want a full view, I strongly recommend you to attend Aaron's session. You will not regret that. All right, just to close up on integrations, again, all identity integrations are coming through CII at the moment, right? And this is all we integrate into device insights. The point here is we're not only integrating security solutions, we're also integrating mobile device management solutions. We're also integrating things like ServiceNow, right, to bring that additional device context, which those tools definitely have. And this is very important to have all that information in one place during your investigation. It saves so much time, right? Again, talking about efficiency tool, how XDR is an efficiency tool, how we are making it an efficiency tool. If I didn't say it's an efficiency tool, it is an efficiency tool. And then finally, there's a little bit of the feature outlier, which is client management capability to manage your Cisco Secure client profiles within Cisco XDR. And again, there is a session that goes into much more details on that I also strongly recommend you to attend, which will walk you through all the different cloud management options for Cisco Secure Client, all the different modules that are included, whether it's network visibility module, whether it's umbrella module, or orbital, or forensics for that matter, whatnot. So definitely more information about that piece of the architecture in Bill Yaji section. I had to find Bill and ask how to pronounce his last name so before the session. All right, so that brings us to our first demo. And we'll have more demos coming up very shortly as well. So in this first section, what I wanted to quickly show you is some of the things that we have talked about. And if it's too small, let me know. I will enlarge it. So very quickly, the coverage map, right? As we see, we support coverage information for Cisco Breach Protection Suite. And then Sentinel-1 at the moment, I don't have it integrated in this environment, but you saw it on the screenshot. If we start bringing in third-party integrations, and then for each tactic and technique, you will see information about adversaries, and then you will also see if you have any incidents related to this specific tactic and technique. And then from device configuration insights perspective, or from configuration insights perspective for Cisco Secure Endpoint, this is how that would look, right? And then for each engine, you would have a detailed breakdown for all the tactics and techniques that it covers. And you will see, based on your configuration, you will see that there are 8 endpoints in audit mode. There is 1 endpoint in protect mode. And you can pivot here to Cisco Secure Endpoint to look at those policies and correct them. So from investigate perspective, one thing that I wanted to show is how to run investigations. So all you can do is to just type a specific observable, right, that you want to investigate and hit investigate. You could also do it via the API. Here's an example of investigation of the email ID that actually brings information of who was the user that accessed that email, what was the URLs involved in this email, any IP addresses and things like that. And it also shows us events information, and there is a timeline that we can toggle to focus on specific events. And what I also like here is ability to filter. So you can highlight in here whatever you want to focus on. If you want to focus on your IP addresses, or if you want to focus on persons that are being involved in this investigation, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very powerful graphical representation, which makes it so easy to comprehend what's going on. And really for those tier 1 and tier 2 analysts that shuffle all the time and you constantly need to learn on the job, that becomes as an easy task to quickly become efficient with your daily operations. Then from intelligence perspective, detection findings tab, as I mentioned, the new feature here. Here are some of the trail alerts that we have looked at and some of the detections. You can use it to be able to test, validate whether you're ingesting data and events from your integrations. And then here you can also see that it has been analyzed. So if the status is different, it means something wrong, and you need to open a tag case, or you need to talk to your Cisco people about it. And then you can also get the findings information. As I mentioned before, you get access to that raw information. And then you can also see when this was ingested, when it was verified, all of those data points that are important to understand how fast this event progressed through the incident generation pipeline. And then from intelligence perspective, as I mentioned, we have private intelligence, so you can create judgments, indicators, events, and feeds that then can be consumed by other products. Asset information, I want to spend a little bit more time here just to show you an asset and the contextual information. Just let's give it a little bit of a moment. So here's an example of a device. And we use this progressive disclosure sort of like everywhere in our UI. So from asset perspective, you see we start getting that information about vulnerabilities, different characteristics of the endpoint. And we can, if we view the details, that tells us information coming from all of those different integrations, including top vulnerabilities, Duo, vulnerability management, cloud management details, all of that coming in one page. And then for users, this is where our CII integration kicks in, right, where we see identity events now. Right, and we see activity information, that MFA is disabled, the account status, the important information and the important context you want to have if you see that user being involved in an incident, right? That will tell you a lot already about this incident. And then from integrations perspective, just very quickly, on this integration page, as I mentioned, you will be able to search by different types of capabilities. And then the authorship type, whether it's created by Cisco or by our technology partners. And then the full list of Cisco and third-party integrations are listed here. And you will find some stuff, also some integrations like PagerDuty, for example, to be able to alert you about the incident through that integration, things like that. So a lot of different integrations listed here. So to go back to our session, let's talk about a very important, all the integrations are important, right? But to come to a conclusion of maliciousness, we need to have those detections, and we need to be able to manage those incidents and then do forensics on top of that. So I know this is a little bit of an eye chart. This is why I encouraged everyone to download the session material if you can. From that event, but I'll walk you through that. So if we start on the left side, you see our detection sources on the top, which is our events, and you see the current integrations that we support that ingest data into our data platform, right? And there's ingest mechanism that is usually a push mechanism that is being used on those detections. And then down below, you see our base telemetry coming from network endpoint perspective. We talked about network visibility module, firewall logs, cloud logs, and then identity information with ICE logs. And this is where this XDR analytics or Cisco Secure Analytics or observable networks comes into place with applying those different detections and behavioral models, AI, ML, et cetera, and rapid detections to run those detections that are also like signature-based and things like that. And once those detections are created from the base telemetry, they're also being fed into the data platform. And then the data platform, it all goes through normalization to an OCSF format, enrichment, getting that from threat intelligence, adding additional fields into those detections based on the enrichment information we receive from threat intelligence sources. And after that, it goes into incident generation pipeline, right, where we correlate all of that based on common observables that has been seen across all of those detections. And then we create an incident. And then we decorate this incident in the last mile with applying AI summarizations, creating reports, executive reports, with providing asset information, additional enrichment information from additional data sources, and then incident prioritization happens there as well. And then all of that, we also have, as I mentioned, the API, which allows you to run point-in-time investigations with certain solutions that we integrate with. And after that, the incident appears in the UI, and it's available for the analyst to view. And with some recent additional features, what we're also able to do afterwards is verify some of the information we received by running orbital queries or by running XDR forensics. And XDR forensics is a completely net new feature that we're bringing in. We're currently in the private customer preview. So if you will be interested to participate, you can stop by our booth in the Innovation Zone, and we can provide you with a QR code to apply for this private preview program. And we'll talk about forensics in a few moments, a little bit more. What does this mean? It's a full-blown differ capability that we are bringing into XDR. So in terms of detections, we covered most of it already. So this is more of an informational slide, right? We are bringing all of that telemetry in terms of raw telemetry. This is where we have been using AI/ML for decades. There are a lot of different types of detections and algorithms that we are running. And then from event telemetry, as I mentioned, we are bringing endpoint detections, email detections, network detections, and now we are working on bringing identity detections as well. So that's a very quick recap of what we have already covered. From incident creation perspective, the incidents can be created through the incident generation pipeline, as I mentioned, but you can also create them through the API. In case you create them through the API, they're not going to go through the incident generation pipeline. So you will be ingesting all of the data, creating that incident bundle, and submitting it through the API, and it will appear in the UI. They can also be promoted through the XDR analytics. Some alerts can be directly promoted to an incident as well. As I mentioned, we use progressive disclosure that we'll look at in the demo. I would rather show that to you in the demo. And from prioritization perspective, we take a lot of different attributes, such as the criticality and severity of MITRE tactics and techniques, the criticality and severity of the individual alerts that has been taken, some financial information similar to what cybersecurity insurance companies are using as an indicators, plus the asset value at the moment, and soon we hope to be able to use the user information in here for coming up with the priority score, which allows you to focus on what really matters, right, and start with the order of priority for those incidents. To learn more about our detection capabilities, please attend this section by our distinguished technical marketing engineer, Matt Robertson, today, which is a 1-hour deep dive into all the different types of detections, the logic, the ingestion timelines, integrations that we support, whatnot. I definitely recommend you to attend this session today. Detections part is an extremely important part of the product, so that deep dive will be very important to attend. I wanted to cover forensics and orbital because that's a new functionality that we're bringing. So it's a little bit of a secret. The announcements is going to come a little bit later, but all XDR customers will have access to orbital capabilities very soon, and or already have. And what you will be able to do, Orbital is our OS core implementation, which allows you to build the database with the OS query daemon running on the endpoint, which is part of Cisco Secure Client, right? It builds a database of different artifacts, and you can query it with a lot of different parameters, right? And it also allows you to run scripts on the endpoint, with the use cases being response and remediation for that, like stop processes, clean up registry keys, et cetera. And then with XDR Forensics, we are bringing in full DFIR capabilities into the platform, which will allow you to acquire evidence on this endpoint post-incident, which collects acquisition profiles, as you see, including OS information, e-discovery information, includes different YARA rules, Sigma, OS query rules that will be running as part of the acquisition. And then based on that, we acquire the data, we add it to the case that is where we store the information about the forensics investigation that we are running. And then we can dig and do further deep dive into the specific findings and work with those findings, flag them, tag them, and that will be available through the investigation hub within Cisco XDR. And on top of that, it also provides you with some asset info that will allow you to do additional triage. And then it also provides you with remote shell capabilities to do live investigation on the endpoint. So this is like really, really super cool. This is, if you think about crawl, run, walk, run, this is the run capability. So we are working in both directions, trying to simplify and make it easy to use platform, but also to provide you those deep dive features to create a get real value out of it. So I would like to dive into the demo here. Like it's a little bit walk through the first glance of XDR Forensics. And this is what will be done for you if you have an incident. You will be able to kick off the steps, and they will be taken for you in the background from the XDR perspective. But I want you to walk through this to understand what is going on if you would be doing it manual. So here we are looking at the case and the endpoint that is involved in this case, in this DFIR case. So for that endpoint, what we can do is we can start running the acquisition. And as we run an acquisition for this endpoint, there's a lot of information that we will be able to collect. So let me get to this side, actually. So we will be collecting some general asset information. But also, as we start the evidence acquisition, we can choose one of the pre-built profiles, whether it's like full or just browsing history, it's just baseline, like whatever. And what will be included in those profiles is certain acquisition rules, triage rules, and we can select what kind of evidence we want to collect. So let's say if we start a new acquisition profile, we can select the evidence list, including a lot of system parameters, such as antivirus information, proxy list, DNS servers, like shadow copy, CSV. Here is an example of memory information that we'll be able to collect. And from registry key perspective, right, a lot of different registry keys that we can select. The artifact lists, like a list such as servers, like productivity artifacts, utilities artifacts, server information, event logs information, additional content profiles, network capture. You can ask the acquisition to run the pickup for a certain period of time at the time of the acquisition gathering. And OS queries, we can run different OS queries as part of this acquisition as well. E-discovery collection, whether we want to collect emails, disk image information, cryptography, certificates, whatever. So like you can scrub this endpoint, everything from it. And once the acquisition is collected, we can select to apply certain post-acquisition tasks, including MITRE ATT&CK Analyzer, mapping all the findings that we find to tactics and techniques framework. And once it is all done, you will be presented with this dashboard. So actually, if you have an XDR incident and you trigger the acquisition. Once you pivot to it from the incident, this is what you will be presented. This is going to be the first screen that you see is the dashboard with the findings that are really, that has been found. So with that, we are going to move to, and here's an example of one finding, right, where we are searching for a specific file, preference files, and we find that this file has been present on this system. And then we can also look for certain tactics and techniques and find additional information from there. So let me move to the live demo, actually, to show you those details of the incident. So we'll walk through the incident here. The incident we'll be looking at, just give me a moment. As I mentioned, is a spear phishing incident where we send a certain email to multiple recipients that included some URLs, including the tiny URL. The first time it sent, it got blocked, so it actually got correlated into the incident. And then second time, the attacker was smarter, and that email actually went through, so you won't see the actual breach email in that incident. But what we can see here, right, that that email that was blocked, it was actually opened. By one of the users, and we have that information in the graph as well. And then from there, we can see that the breach device got involved, and there's been additional communication going on with other systems and certain processes that were involved and certain URLs that were involved. And I know we can enlarge and expand it to be able to see the full graph of the incident. But what I also want to show is we can see all the indicators that were involved. We see there are some cloud detections that were involved with it. We see that there's been RAT executed on the endpoint. We see the amount of observables and all the assets that were involved with the incident as well. And if we dig through the incident details, what we will see is this mail was reported as malicious that came from the email solution. If we look at all the sources where we've got this information from, you see email, identity, secure access, secure endpoint, secure network analytics, firewall, secure endpoint, cloud detections, network visibility module detections, and we have the net flow detections coming as well. So all of that got correlated into one incident, providing the full end-to-end information into what happened in this environment. And if we step through, we see that after the email was detected, we had a few suspicious events coming up from secure access about the data loss prevention. We have, which we brought this event through a private intelligence. It's a custom detection, actually. Some secure endpoint executions. Also, the command and control connection was established, and some other additional events, followed by the cloud detections as well. So what we can do is confirm that information by looking at the evidence, right? And as I mentioned with XDR forensics, once we acquire the evidence, what we would do is give it a name, select the template, and then check that we want to do post-analysis acquisition of MITRE information. And once we acquire the evidence, it would be listed over here. And once we open it up, this would bring us to this dashboard, right? So if we want to, we could sift through all of that information and all of those details, but maybe we want to look at some specific information that was listed in this incident, and this is where we would be able to do it, right? To run specific investigation, to find certain findings and things like that. To show you how you could use investigation, additional thing you can do is, for example, investigate that email ID. And I have showed that example to you a little bit earlier. If we investigate the email ID that was involved in the incident, it will bring us additional email information based on certain URLs that were included in those emails. We will be able to gather information through investigation here. And this additional email that was actually not blocked because it was not deemed phishing, right? We could block that email again, right, by using those quick actions that I mentioned before. Right, so that's an example of an investigation and a progressive disclosure in information that you would be able to receive in the incident. And also, you will be able to see response capabilities with the automation tools in here. And you know, by leveraging this guided response playbook. Now, that brings us to talking a little bit more about response and automation. And we follow this pictorial model with identity, containment, eradication, and recovery steps in incident response, where we provide all of those guided steps to the analyst to be able to follow. It is also a very robust and flexible framework. It is powered by the workflows at the end, underneath, and we can leverage the APIs of all of those integrations to be able to execute all those actions from one single place. So I show you the pivot menu already, right? So you can do quick actions through the pivot menu. I showed you a little bit of response playbook. So each of these execute buttons are powered by the workflows. And then we can automate it and make this task run in the background based on certain incident attributes and certain rules. And there is a big library of those workflows that is available in the Exchange that we advise you to look at. And then from the demo perspective, one thing I wanted to show you additionally that I didn't show yet is basically the view of the AI assistant. Let me just switch to the demo quickly. And I will provide the link to this guided demo in the WebEx space, and it's also included in this session as well. So our AI assistant is also being able to pull that guided playbook from the incident and walk the analyst through all the steps and execute the steps on their behalf, which makes it very easy to learn for those and then get trained for those like tier 1, tier 2 analysts. They may not be security specialists, right? Thinking about those lean IT organizations that may want to like become efficient right out of the bat. So if we take a look at how to create a custom playbook, right, then here is a certain rules that you can apply. So you can actually create your own and add your own actions. And that will be your guided playbook available for the incident. So you can have a phishing playbook, you can have an investigation for a specific like high priority tactics playbook. So you can have multiple of them, and you can have a certain rule and logic available and add those custom tasks to the playbooks as well. So that's a little sneak peek into automation. And then lastly, I want to talk about AI and Splunk. We only covered the respond use case in here, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. There are going to be sessions in the DevNet zone that I want to point you to learn more about automation capabilities of Cisco XDR. And I said already there's going to be announcements today that I think will be very important. I don't want to steal the thunder, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. You will have to find out yourselves. We did a quick demo already, and from an AI perspective, there's one thing that I wanted to say first. And like we've been working with AI like everyone else for decades. ML AI capability has been in detection space for years. Now we're using all of those summarization capabilities, right, to make things more easy comprehensible and to summarize data. And then we use it for incident prioritization as well, that I covered briefly. But what is the next steps? Like, right, what would be a forward-looking statement for AI? Now you heard about about agentic AI probably everywhere already. So what it essentially stands for is we're using multiple agents that are specifically trained for specific tasks. We're bringing all those agents together to be able to analyze the incidents and all of the data and to bring you a very straightforward experience to even further lower the curve that you needed to investigate the incident. And then I'll just show you a very quick demo of that. And you will also be able to see that demo in our booth. So if I just quickly pivot to that incident, let me just find the right one. Right. What will be the new experience looking fine? And again, this is another variant of that spear phishing attack. But once we are able to apply all of that AI technology on top of it and the new UI experience and bring new UI experience, what this will allow us to automatically provide you the criticality and the probability of this event. So is it a false positive or not, right? And then you'll be able to have the human-readable summary of all the events and all the detections that are being analyzed. You will be able to see the impact, how much data has been exfiltrated based on all the detections that we already have. We've looked at all of those individual detections, so all we are doing is we're feeding that telemetry, all of that we already have in our architecture, into those agents to be able to analyze it and summarize it and provide that information to us and correlate it. We'll be able to get recommendations on what should be the next steps, right? And then we'll be able to dive deeper into findings. And for this impacted device over there, what we also see is those findings has been summarized. So again, even from one single point platform, now we see this is what was related to endpoint. Now this came from secure endpoint. This what came from secure network analytics. There has been 8 detections in total. This is the total amount of data that has been infiltrated from these ports. And then this is the detections that came from our firewall, right? And this, like so many and so on. And my favorite feature is the timeline, which I think, again, is a really cool graphical representation of the attack progression, which is even better than we have currently, right? Which allows you to see what was the first step, right? We downloaded that VBS script, and then that script got executed and led to stage 2 malware download. And then the service was process hollowed and infected, and that leads to this rat Trojan being installed and command and control connection being established, and that led to further exfiltration of the data. So the point here is we're trying to make it easy to use tool, and we leverage all of those technologies, new technologies that I mentioned, because it is very important. I mean, we have 4 million shortage of staff in cybersecurity, and this is the new technologies that are coming, and we need to embrace them, right? So this was the quick demo that we just looked at, and now who came here just to hear about XDR and Splunk? Do we have people that were sort of interested just in that topic? So I deliberately left it till the end to cover with you what we are currently focusing on. Now, if you're at the early start of your SOC journey and in your maturity journey, right, XDR is definitely your efficiency tool. It's plug and play. It's detections out of the box. It's automations out of the box. Very little tuning. Very little tuning even possible in certain areas still, right? But easily to comprehend. We leverage all of those AI and other technologies to make it understandable for non-cybersecurity specialists. Think about like Meraki customers, lean IT organizations, small organizations. Very often, even in the SOC, tier 1 analysts, they're just students working night shifts, right? We cannot expect them to have deep domain knowledge in everything that we have to cover. So this is your efficiency tool and an easy button. And then as you start progressing in your SOC maturity journey and you need long-term storage and you want to expand the data sources that you're bringing in, for example, Splunk has 3,200 integrations. we have about 100. I mean, what it tells you, right? You can ingest anything on Earth into Splunk as a SIEM. That's the goal of a SIEM, right? To be able to run those complex queries and leverage that information and engineer your detections. What we are working on currently is bringing data in and bringing data out with Splunk SIEM and Splunk Enterprise Security, right? And I'm going to show you in a quick demo how it currently looks and what data we are bringing in and out from Splunk. So if we log into Splunk, what we have been working on for the past 12 months is Cisco Security Cloud application, which is our technical add-on that consolidates all the Cisco security products into one technical add-on for Splunk to ingest data from all of those integrations into Splunk. For Cisco XDR, what that would mean is like they're all sort of like API-based, so you need just provide your API keys and authenticate, and it's a very easy plug-and-play integration. And once you've done it, the application comes with some pre-built dashboards, which will provide you to check on the data integrity, how our Splunk resources are being used, what are the different types of alerts that we are ingesting, and then the status of the applications. But it also comes with out-of-the-box dashboards. For Cisco XDR dashboard, for example, we will be able to check what are the incidents coming in, and for beneath each of these dashboards, if we click on this magnifying glass, there is an SPL query, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Let me just go through that quickly again, right? So when we launch into Cisco Security Cloud application, we will see all the products that we integrate, including Cisco XDR, right? We will need to sign in, and it will do all the integration at the backend to provide the keys for the application. And then there are several built-in tabs to provide you data about your integrations, what data you're ingesting, whether all the integrations are healthy and connected, how we are utilizing Splunk resources, what are the alerts by category that we see across all integrated users. And then it comes out with pre-built out-of-the-box dashboards for each solution. What's cool about it for this widgets, right, is each widget is, there is an SPL query underneath that you can modify. Splunk is very good in data visualization, so you can build your own custom dashboards. And here is an example of RSA dashboard that we build, including XDR information and then secure malware analytics dashboards in here. So that's will bring you visibility and custom dashboard visibility in here. And then what you will also be able to do is to ingest incidents into Splunk ES and findings. And then from there, if we look at all the findings that are coming from Cisco XDR, the incident that we were looking at, you will be able to correlate it with other telemetry that you are getting in your SIEM to further enrich it with additional data such as Windows logs, for example, or authentication logs or proxy logs that we are currently not ingesting in Cisco XDR. Right, so that's one piece, how we are getting data into Splunk. And on the other side, in Cisco XDR, we are also able to leverage Splunk information, both from Splunk Cloud and Splunk Enterprise, by being able to, it's an easy configuration, and we are leveraging automation and those background tasks to pull data based on certain searches. So here an example of pulling in firewall, Palo Alto firewall and Windows access logs as incidents. You're also able to run investigations, and in those investigations bring telemetry coming up from Splunk. So you see all of those events are coming from Splunk Cloud integration. We're bringing those third-party firewall logs in there. And then if we look into those, like this is the information that's coming in, right? And in the incidents view, again, we are able to ingest those incidents via the API. Now, at the moment, they're not going through incident generation pipeline. So this is straight ingestion of the incident. It doesn't get benefit of that all correlation and other things that we were looking as we were looking at incident generation pipeline at the moment. But we are working on it. So if you follow the announcements in the DevNet space today, you will learn more about what's coming. Right, so here's an example of the Windows event log incidents based on the information we have received from Splunk. So overall, the point here is right now we have the most robust and complete portfolio to feed whatever needs the customers have and meet them where they are anywhere in the SOC maturity journey. To provide them an easy button or a more complex solutions depending on how further they are and what they're actually looking for. Yeah, I think this is in general very exciting integration and development that we have. So we covered that. We talked about bringing data in and bringing data out, and we talked about those integrations in the demo already. We've done the demo. So resources and conclusions, and we are right about to finish on time and spend just last few minutes talking about that. I hope I was able to show you a little bit how XDR is really becomes an efficiency tool, saving you time and helping you to achieve those outcomes. I really, truly think that we need to leverage these new technologies that are coming up, and this is one of the most important ones to leverage, right? And from the resources perspective, all the demos that I have shown are listed here. You will have all those links in the slides that you have. I will also drop them in the WebEx space. There's also a public WebEx space, and there is the DevNet track where you can learn about how open and integrated framework we have. And there is also a Pearson learning, a detection and response with XDR that has been created by a few of my colleagues that I want to recommend for those that are just starting on their journey. Session evaluations, I mean, we're early in the week and you will hear it many, many, many times. I just want to ask you, please fill your surveys every day. They're extremely important to us to understand what you think about the sessions, the content that has been delivered. We're also very highly competitive between each other. So the security track manager came earlier before my session and they said, like no pressure, but don't drop the scores. So guys, please help me not to drop the scores for the security track. They're very competitive about it. And I hope you like that information. The demos worked for the most part. And one call to action I want to make is to see some of those like Splunk and XDR integration live. This integration is actually powering the SOC at this event. So in your application, you will be able to find SOC tours. So I encourage you to go ahead and book a tour in Cisco Live SOC to learn more and see yourself in the real time how these technologies power a true SOC for this like very large event with like 17,000 people in here, right? And also, I always try to promote all the hands-on activities in this event. We, as an engineers, we always learn better by doing. We have Capture the Flags for XDR, where you can experience the product and interact with those incidents and emulations. As I said, my team produced most of that collateral this week. We have Innovation Zone, where we can do those demos live for you in a closer, more like private setting, where we're not pressed on time on a large screen where you have to look from the back, right? And there are walking labs as well. So definitely use this opportunity if you're not yet using the product to get that first-hand experience and hands-on exercises. Don't forget that all of this is going to be in the on-demand libraries after the session. I was surprised to find out not everyone know about it. Those recordings are going to be available for the sessions for you. And I want to thank you for attending the session and for listening to this information. If you have any questions, I'll stick around to answer any that you have. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you.